Okay, so that's pretty good. So I remember I did a video talking about how people want something for nothing from others, right? I'm going to show you guys some products here. And I want to talk about how pawn shops like to play people as they're dumb, right? Or acting like what you bring in isn't good and they try to play your stuff off as fake. And the problem with a lot of these pawn shops who have been within the family business for so long, a lot of them are not equipped to test of updated, high-end jewelry that you, the consumer, spent good money on it at like a jewelry store, like a K Jewelers or at a Walmart, right? So I want to talk about that. And I couldn't get any money for what I brought in, right? Because, my mom needs help right now. And what makes a lot of these pawn shops, right, very hypocritical is what I'm about to show you and tell you, right? So, about roughly, okay, and I say roughly 5 years ago now, right? 5 summers ago, I bought some jewelry for myself, and I don't usually buy jewelry. Now, me, as a half-breed, there is such thing as native gold. We all just don't wear silver. Some do wear gold, native gold. And native gold, if you will, is a lot more high-end than your usual gold. But gold, as in a metal alloy, as we know, yeah, it's not going to be the strongest. It's not going to be the strongest metal alloy, right? And what a lot of these pawn shops, they expect you to have the paperwork on whatever you bring in. They don't know that, jewelry stores these days, right, from down south and up north, even like the jewelry department and the showcase in Walmart, they don't do, they don't do papers anymore. They don't do that. So a lot of people who run pawn shops are really out of date when it comes to so many things. And it's just how it is. It's just how it goes, unfortunately. You're really just out of date. And it's not to be anything to be, disrespectful or anything, but there's so much truth behind it. There's a lot of truth behind it. There really is. So I'm gonna show you guys something. These were things that I purchased at a Walmart. Some of these I don't know where they came from, but they are real. They have their stamps, right? So keep in mind what I'm about to show you here is about about roughly $3,000 and some change. So one of the things pawn shops say, oh, well, we don't do silver, right? Well, this right here is a full silver ring. I got this, like I said, about 5 years ago, right? It does have the stamps inside, serial number, right? Wore it a few times. Oh, we don't take silver. And keep that in mind. We don't take silver, right? Let me grab a few other silver items. I showed this. I'm not sure where this came from. Real silver, real diamonds, real silver chain. It has the engravings in it, the numbers or the ounce or what have you, right? Again, keep in mind, they say they don't take silver. That's very important in this video. You know, I take this out. Now keep in mind, again, these pawn shops, oh, we don't take silver. This necklace came from that pawn shop, and this is real diamonds, real sterling silver, right? In their jewelry showcase, they have a lot of silver diamond rings. They have a lot of silver diamond rings, right? They do. Here's this one. They don't take mixed alloys. Sterling silver, black steel, gold, and raw copper. This cost me a few $100s. I bought up north on native land in a native state. Alright? The same thing, right? When I bought this from Walmart, along with the ring, watch, and a bracelet for about $1,500. Sterling silver, real diamonds, real gold. Oh, we don't take it, it's a mixed alloy. Now, they didn't want to test it because of that. And they don't have the proper testing when it comes to testing diamonds. I noticed that. They don't have a diamond tester. Right? This real silver, sterling silver necklace has the stamp right there. Right? Oh, we don't take silver. It's right here, right? Wasn't really kept in the best condition. Silver pocket watch, my dad's. Gold inside of it, right? You were to take these things, or if they were to get their hands on them, because a lot of places or a lot of people that own shops like that, they like getting their hands on things for free, and they put it in their showcase, right? Keep in mind, oh, we don't take silver. Okay? If you don't take silver, then why did you sell things like this? Because this fine silver ounce, 0.999 troy ounce, brick, right? Native American head, buffalo, full silver, right? I paid around that price plus tax, and they sold it. Oh, we don't take or sell silver. This here, ounce silver, right? The thick ones, not the thin ones, the thick ones. Oh, we don't take silver. What makes a lot of these places hypocritical, you guys remember when I done videos showing you these coins, these full dollar coins from the 70s? Now, these ain't full silver. You can tell they're not by the sides, how they have that copper color. Yeah, pure silver don't do that. They would say, oh, we just sell full silver. Places like that sell things like this that ain't even full silver for a high price. Keep that in mind, right? But when it comes to certain other things like this belt buckle, right? It not best condition anymore. This was my dad's. It was sterling silver. It's pretty dirty. He wore it a lot to work for so long in a phosphate plant, right? You were to clean this up, polish it, restore it back, they would sell it or they would melt it down. But again, they would say, oh, we don't take silver. When it comes time now to test gold products, right? Gold products. I showed a few rings, right? This right here, Egyptian ring. It's real. It has a stamp right under there. Um, they didn't know how to test the gold on this. They didn't even know how to test the diamonds. To a lot of these products about to show you, their trainee and one of the owners even had to ask for help. See, when they started doing that and they tried to play my shit as fake and it wasn't, because when they rubbed the gold and put the acid on it, it didn't turn. You know, they were expecting it to fade or turn green, and it didn't. But yet, you know, there's other ways of testing gold, just like this, right? Real diamonds, real gold. Again, it does have the stamps right there on the inside and everything. And I bought that with that one chain I showed you, a watch and a bracelet that you guys are going to see. They didn't know how to test this. This isn't, you know, antique gold. This isn't your grandma and grandpa's gold. This isn't like, you know, great grandparents' jewelry. And that's one of the things that they're looking for. They're looking for, you know, old white people jewelry that people of, you know, my age or younger, you know, don't keep anymore. A lot of that's sold off for scrap. And a lot of these pawn shops are just not prepared when it comes to high-end jewelry. And there are different golds. This watch right here, right? I paid a few $100s for it. Pretty penny on native land, in the native state in Montana. This right here, this type of gold is Indian gold. Indian gold, right? And a lot of your gold products, when it comes to the South, is going to come from several places. Mexico, right? So you have your Aztec gold, right? It's going to come from New Mexico, Missouri, right? Midwest, or up in the West in native lands. You don't hear about Southern gold because there was never no such thing as Southern gold. They didn't know how to test these diamonds and these red rubies. So these diamonds and these red rubies, right? You got to think of where they came from. From a mine, the Berkeley pit, to be exact, polished and everything, and designed in this watch. So they didn't know at all how to test it, especially when it came to this watch. This watch right here, right? This is the watch that I also purchased with that ring I showed you with the eagle and that cross, the silver big cross, right? Real diamonds, real gold. It has the markings, the engravings. Now this is Aztec gold from Mexico, or from New Mexico, or somewhere within Missouri or the Midwest, right? So they rubbed it, right? They was expecting it to turn, and again, it didn't turn. I had these for 5 years. I wore them on and off, right, for hours on end. They never faded. They never turned me green. And they try to say, oh, well, it's fake. No, you just don't know how to deal in, you know, high-end jewelry, especially this bracelet. So this bracelet I purchased too with that watch, right, everything. So the eagle ring, the bigger cross, the watch I just showed you, this bracelet all cost me $1,500 at Walmart. And I looked up videos just in case, does Walmart rip people off when it comes to jewelry? No, there's nothing but a lot of feedback. You know, my mom bought jewelry from Walmart before, and, you know, the pawn shops would take them in and test them. And sometimes they would try to play my mom like, oh, you got fake stuff. And it wasn't fake, right? Just like how they were very hypocritical when it came to taking a necklace of hers of different mixtures of gold and copper. They didn't know how to properly test it, so they only gave her $130 for the necklace, right? So they tested this bracelet. They're trying to say, oh, well, it's fake. Again, it didn't turn. Why? Because these pawn shops are so old, they don't have the proper testing for high-end jewelry, right? They wanted this one, but again, they didn't know how to test the diamonds. They didn't have it. And this is very real bracelet because I know where I got it from. The same thing when it came to this necklace. And they definitely tried to play it like it was fake because guess what? This is Sicilian gold because this is stamped from what it is about 14 karat, and it has the Italy's stamp on there as well within a lot of that, right? They try to play it like it wasn't. Again, this never turned. And this is more of your high-end quality gold or Sicilian. Just like, here's this, I showed them this. They should say, oh, well, that's fake, right? They're mad because their magnets didn't work and their magnets were dirty. I said, this isn't fake, dude. What does that say? 24 karat. I wore this so much, and I even have the twin of this. I wore it so much, it didn't turn. This is very heavy and it's real. They didn't even have a damn scale proper to weigh these. Again, this isn't me trying to bash them, but again, when it comes to this type of stuff, right? This is Indian gold right here. Indian gold. There are different forms of gold out there, right? Just like you have this, right? They try to say, oh, well, that's fake. Really? Because it has a 14 karat stamp on it. They didn't even want to test it. They didn't know how to properly test it. Mexico gold is where this comes from. So they didn't know how to really test when it comes to certain alloys and stuff. Again, these pawn shops are not prepared when it comes to, your updated jewelry, your updated high-end jewelry. And go back to what I said, you're not going to get paperwork these days on a lot of stuff. You're just not going to do it. Not even at your most high-end, like top high-end jewelry store. It's just not going to happen these days, right? It's just not going to happen. Not going to happen, right? And the problem is they don't know the difference. For example, this, I think this is a nickel, So it's a native head nickel gold, right? So this is what Indian gold is right here, right? I had to bring this in. They wouldn't know how to test it because they don't have the proper stuff when it comes to testing. Again, much more high-end materials. They really don't. Again, what they're looking for is, like I said, your grandma, grandpa's, great-grandparents' old white people jewelry. And and they're not prepared when it comes to somebody such as me bringing in stuff of a much more higher quality, a much more higher of value, because there's other things in here, right? These are what people are looking for. They're not looking for, trash gold, and I hate to put it like that, but that's what a lot of old white people gold is. It's trash gold. It's not worth so much. And I'm not, doing this to be mean. I'm not doing that at all. I want everybody to please understand. I'm not saying this to be mean, but it's so true. They're just not prepared because they didn't have the proper testing equipment, right? Let's say this right here, right? I seen them sell something like this. People invest into Bitcoin, which is a horrible stock market to invest in. People dump like $10,000 for a Bitcoin. That's not even worth nothing. This is only worth $6, right? You got to take a look at the metal in this, which is black seal or steel. You have copper, right? For that type of money, you're gonna, you want the purest of copper that's not gonna turn. Then you have that orange metal, which is orange gold, and there is a such thing as orange gold. You take that into a pawn shop, they're not gonna know how to test that. They're not gonna know how to test it, right? They're not. But yet they'll see something like it, put it for sale for like a higher price. So, are you gonna pay a higher price for Bitcoin? That's not even worth anything more than $6. No, you're not going to do it, right? So let's say I bring in one of these, right? I want you guys to read that right there. It's from a native state of Montana. Montana Silver Smiths. This is a belt buckle from my dad's work. Silver and gold, really heavy, right? Again, I live down south. I've been living down here in the state of Tennessee for 30 years. right? For those that follow my page, don't know the videos, then you know where I originally come from, which is in the state of Montana, but I've been down here since I was very little, and I'm 35 years old. You bring this into a pawn shop down south, they're going to say, well, we don't take it because it's silver, but it has gold in it, right? They'll want to test it and say it's bullshit. When in reality, they don't have the proper testing for a lot of it, especially down here. So they would want to see something like this at a yard sale or thrown out so they can grab it and sell it for a higher price. Or you take something like this into them, which is another belt buckle, by the way, right? And this is from North American Hunting Club, and this is about as really sterling, pure silver and gold that you're really going to get to, right? And it's going to be like this, you know. They'll see this and say, man, well, it's we consider it silver even though it has gold in it. We'll test it, and they'll try to play you like you're dumb and say it's fake when it's not. Because North American Hunting Club, from my understanding, not around anymore, right? Not around anymore. So that's how that goes. But they'll see something like that at somebody, again, at a yard sale, right? They'll see something like that, right? At a yard sale or what have you. And, you know, they're going to want to get it for cheap because they're going to want to throw in their expertise, right? And get it for nothing and then sell it at their place for a lot. Or just like this gold pocket watch that belonged to my dad, you know, they'll see something like this and say, well, you know, blah, blah, blah. When in reality, you know, they'll try to play it like, oh, it's not worth anything when it is, right? So they're not prepared when it comes to testing things of a higher quality of jewelry. These pawn shops are just not prepared for it because they're still stuck in the past. They want that southern gold, you know, that Yankee gold, right? And there's no fucking such thing. There's really not, you know, there isn't, and there never will be, you know. And and again, they're just not prepared in, you know, for high quality gold. You bring in, you know, a gold rope chain, solid gold from the 80s with it fully stamped and everything and with a solid emblem, you know, they're going to want to play you. They're going to want to play you, right? Because they're just not prepared for things like that. They're just not prepared for it. And again, it's not me being, you know, disrespectful right now, but it's the truth, you know. These type of places, you know, they're not really prepared for things like that. And that says a whole damn lot. I remember there was a place called Checkouts at one time. My mom sold a bracelet there, then bought it back. But they tried to play her like she was dumb because it was a native Indian bracelet with real turquoise in it. And a lot of those places, you know, if you take in a turquoise rock or a pure crystal rock, you know, and I'm going to show you guys, you know, what I mean by that. Because I don't want people to get misconstrued here, right? Yeah, I showed these before. I don't mind showing them again, right? Like if I bring this in and sell it, they'll say, oh, it's not real gold. Yeah, it is. It came from a real gold mine. Duh. Or you bring this in, they'll want to play you stupid. This is real. Okay, a lot of this came from up north on native land. You don't get stuff like this down south. You really don't do it. Or this turquoise type of a rock, right? They'll try to play you. They really will. Because you got to keep in mind, they don't have stuff like that here down south, so they're not prepared for it. they really are just not prepared, you know. I mean, I think it might be in here, or it might be in that other one. I'm not 100% certain right now, and that's fine. I don't need to be certain right now, but I got real gold nuggets, right? They wouldn't know how to test that. They wouldn't. Just like going into the conversation now, you know, about these secondhand mom and pop stores or what have you, right? How they try to play you as a customer or as the seller, right? This rock figure I bought back, right? I had to reorder it, and I looked up the price on this. I paid, I think, original price roughly, and I'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that, but you know, I don't remember how much I really spent. I think like maybe around $30, and they had it priced and they sold it for around $50. I paid around close to that same price online to get this back, right? Originally, they only wanted to give me $5 for this at Game Exchange. Now, if you think that's something, right? I bought back my gold label Batman Beyond figure. I paid no more, not even really close to $20 for this at Walmart. And they wanted to give me, when I originally sold this to Game Exchange, they wanted off me roughly around $14 for it, along with some other figures, what have you, right? Back when I made like $45. And they had this on their shelf for $70. Think about that. They wanted to give me, right, $14 for that figure to resell it for like $70. I would say another thing too, before I wrap this video up, when it comes to these places, that like to lowball and shit. Let me grab this vinyl set right here. Oh man, if I can grab it. I don't know if I can grab it. Yeah, it's not gonna let me. God, this is all falling out too, by the way, which is not good. Not good at all. Not that vinyl set. This vinyl set. This Prince Emancipation vinyl set right here came out some years back. $200 vinyl set. Pawn shops, they don't look into vinyls. So let's say you bring this into a pawn shop or you find it at a pawn shop. Usually when they get vinyls, they give them for free because they don't know how to sell them. They wouldn't know that this is a $200 vinyl and it's only going up even more. Well, you bring this into a place like Game Exchange, right? They're not going to want to pay you for what you paid for this. They're going to want it for nothing, and they're going to turn around and sell it for a higher price. So, at the end, right, a lot of these places, do like to lowball you, do like to play you like you're dumb. They try to downplay your stuff. And a lot of them, like I said, they're just not prepared when it comes to higher quality stuff, because they don't know how to test it. They don't know how to test things that are much more higher end quality of items. They don't. They really just do not. And that's being down south because they don't know how to deal in it. But yeah.
everybody, what is going on? Before I want to get to the actual topic of this video, these are what I was talking about when it comes to an example of what native silver is, black steel, gold, and these native rings. So this one right here with turquoise in it, native gold, native silver. Then you have native gold and native silver right here, which is a more finer of quality. And these are what the pawn shops down south will not accept because they don't know how to properly test for native gold, native silver, or turquoise. But yet, when they get their hands on something like this that does make their way down south, right? They sell it in their shop, even though they say, oh, well, we don't buy it. If you don't buy it, then why do you sell it? You know, so now just, again, just, you know, more examples of what I'm given when it comes to these topics that I've been doing. But one of you guys, going back to a video I did about a week ago or so, talking about or showing, you know, how the pawn shops here down south, specifically, you know, when it comes to white people pawn shops, how they just don't know how to properly test for certain jewelry because they're not used to high quality jewelry, right? So, see this watch right here? Got this 5 years back at Walmart. 5 years back at Walmart, along with this right here, necklace, right? This here ring and a bracelet. This right here, these items that I showed you, right? Just those items alone, already hitting close to about around $1,000, right? See, my wrist is not green. When the pawn shops that are ran, I guess you could say by Confederate people, right? Confederate gold, Yankee gold, whatever you want to call it, right? You know, they like, you know, gold, you know, old white people gold, old white people jewelry, you know, gold that looks like dark tarnished mustard, right? That type of gold, it has no value. It has zero value. The only way you're going to see some money off that is melting that down, because they try to say, oh, well, this is fake. No, because they didn't know how to test for this gold. This gold, right, Mexican Aztec gold, shipped from Mexico, right? Same thing with this ring and diamonds, right, that are on these. Matter of fact, I'll take the ring off. They try to say, oh, well, the ring's fake. Here's the thing, it never turned. As you can see, yeah, the ring's a bit tight, so that's a skin mark, which I got chubby fingers, and I don't know what proper size ring I wear. But it never turned. Again, I had it for 5 years. And this all came from the jewelry showcase with the, you know, the showcase that they have at Walmart with the lights and everything, the stuff that's like really high priced. Matter of fact, this bracelet came from there. For the life of me, I'm surprised I could even fit it, you know, and my wrist is a bit chunky and shit, you know, fat hands, fat wrist. No green, you can see the gold, it's not tarnished, nothing, real diamonds, real gold. This gold, right, again, Aztec Mexican gold with diamonds, also from Mexico. A much more high quality stuff than what they're used to. This right here, right, Native American silver, Native American gold, and diamonds from out west. So they don't know how to test for that. Just like when I said, oh, well, we don't take silver. You have silver rings, you sell silver coins. You know, I showed that. This ring right here, Native American silver, right? Again, my ring, my finger's not green, with Native American diamonds from out west. Again, they don't know how to test for any of it. They really don't. I remember I had these for 5 years. I wore them off and on. I wore them for hours on end. So, my advice to people, man, if you're gonna take, you know, quality that's a much more higher quality, like jewels like I have on, you know, do not take them to these pawn shops from down south, white people pawn shops. They're not gonna know how to test. You're gonna want to take them Midwest, East Coast, or the West Coast, you know, especially when it comes within native territory. Because when it comes to Latinos and Native Americans, we are going to have the much more higher quality of metal jewelry alloys that these white people, they want it, but they want it for nothing. That's why they like to say, oh, well, it's fake. No, they don't know how to test for that. Thing is, you know, Latinos and Natives, we know how to test for that. We have the things for it. So that's why when they see these out at a flea market or at a yard sale, they like to go ahead, you know, snag it up. They'll go get it sent out to get tested. And when it comes back that everything's real, one, it makes them feel dumb because they're going to think back to the person that tried to sell it to them, and then two, they're going to put it in their showcase, and then they're going to add on a much more higher price to it. You know, that's what they do. That's what they do. Like I said, I showed a video to say, no, this is what, you know, $2,000, $3,000 in jewelry looks like, because I have a bit more. I have a bit more. And I know, and I've been around jewelry. Trust me, there's even good costume jewelry I have that has not even tarnished. So yes.
Alright, so this is the type of jewelry where I got my stuff from. This is the type of jewelry the pawn shops like to say are fake. Thing is, they don't know how to test for this. This is a lot more higher quality gold and silver that either comes from up north with the native lands or down south. And of course, the same thing with the diamonds. So they don't know how to properly test when it comes to stuff like this. Just like they say, oh, well, we don't sell silver here. You got a lot of silver rings. And of course, they sell silver rings at pawn shops. So yeah, they don't know how to test when it comes to much more finer quality of jewelry when it comes within these showcases. Because again, pawn shops are used to, you know, mustard colored, like a dark mustard color of jewelry, right? Like your, you know, I don't want to say it out loud here, you know, but like your old people stuff, you know, your old people type of stuff, especially in this case right here. I'm going to show you guys. See, that's my same watch, $50. It's pure real because, again, I had it for 5 years. Never once tarnished. Never once tarnished. When it comes to those type of finer alloys, like I said, it's best you take them to a much more high-end jewelry store, coin store, right? Because yeah, they do have stuff there that they know how to properly test when it comes to the much more higher quality of gold, silver, and diamonds. They'll tell you, don't take them to a pawn shop. Pawn shops have proven numerous amount of times, even from what I see on TikTok, that when they pass up something because like, oh, it's fake, and then somebody follows up with that, guess what? Turns out it was real. So these pawn shops, they want the much more higher quality stuff like this, you know, from what I showed y'all, right? For free. They want it for nothing. They're hoping that, you know, you'll post it up for sale or something on the marketplace, and would like to You know, they would like to snag that up. And then once they snag it up, you know, they'll go get it sent in. Once it comes back as 100% legit, they'll go ahead and put it in their showcase, because they'll be like, man, we got something here for nothing. They ended up getting something for nothing, and that's what they're looking for. Because I have a gold necklace and a gold bracelet I got roughly 10 years ago at a yard sale, and it had the, you know, that mid 80s, early 90s look to it. And I had it again for over 10 years, and I still have it. And I wore it so much, it never once turned my skin green. And I started looking more closely at it. Yes, it was the dark mustard type yellow gold, but I started looking more closely at it, and it had sea, you know, like water corrosion and kind of inside of it, right? And so that necklace and bracelet apparently came off a ship that was sunk, that was found within the ocean. Now, golds like that, you know, once upon a time were considered almost, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Almost like a death sentence. Because then you had like the government and stuff that used to hunt people down who had any golds that came from the ocean itself. And that's what pawn shops also like to try to get their hands on for nothing, because anything that comes from the seas, the depths, is going to have more value. And, you know, what I have on, you know, plus what I'm telling you guys about, right, has more value than a good portion of what they have in their showcases at those pawn shops. You know, there was this guy who sold some of his silver coins, right? They lowballed him. They did. They lowballed the shit out of him. And you know how, and usually when they resell those, they sell them for a higher price. There's like, I think a 12-piece set, or like 12 pieces of golden silver coins, or golden eagles, American silver coins, or what have you, right? They want like $100 for like the full thing. Not bad, but you know, how much did you lowball somebody for it is my question. You know, that's my question. How much did you lowball them for? You know, so when it comes to these things, you don't take your jewelry to pawn shops. Don't. They will lowball you. They will try to play you like you're dumb, thinking your shit's not worth anything when you know it is, because they're hoping to get it for nothing so they can put it in their showcasings and sell it for a higher price.